have to say right away, I think you probably have the best beard we've had on R2C2. So congratulations, man.
Thank you. Yeah, this is kind of under control from what it's been in the past few years. So, but we're coming up on playoffs, so I haven't touched it in about a month or so. So I'm just going to let it go.
Is that what you do for the playoffs? Just let it go?
Just let it go. I mean,
okay.
You can't mess with that stuff. You just got to let it ride. So I don't know what it's going to look like. All I know is in 2020 when we were playing and we had to we were in the masks and stuff, and my beard was long, but it looked so bad because I had like the mask dents in it. Just like, and like going back and watching some of that stuff from 20, I'm just like, man, what was I doing? I should have just shaved that thing. It looked brutal.
Oh man, one of the funniest things to me I always see is like, and Justin obviously wasn't a Yankee, but the second players leave the Yankees, it's like beard 100% of the time. It's a perfect hit rate. It's unbelievable.
100% of the time, and retire. As soon as you retire or as soon as you get traded, first thing you do is grow a beard because it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm grown. You know what I'm saying? And you want to like, you can grow a beard. It's the first thing you do, especially in the offseason.
Yeah, Joey Gallo just came over to us. Oh man, I don't have to worry about shaving.
It is funny how that works. Justin, congratulations, man, on another division title, another outstanding season you're having, and your team is just ridiculous. We recently talked with your manager, Dave Roberts, about just what you guys do year after year after year, and you've been a part of all this success over the last decade. I mean, this particular season, I'm sure there are certain things that feel like a continuation of what you guys have done for a while now, and then other things that maybe feel like new or new life, new iteration. What feels unique to your group here in 2022?
Yeah, this year is definitely a little different. Obviously bringing in guys like Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and trading for Trey Turner and having those three guys at the top of our lineup is special. But I think the difference is, and it started with Mookie even in 2020 when he came over, signed a monster extension, 10 years and a whole Brinks truck worth of money.
Yeah.
But you know what? When a lot of guys I've seen in this game, a lot of guys sign that big deal, that long deal, and they kind of take a breath and relax. And that's not how Mookie went about it. Like, it almost seemed like he wanted to work harder and show up, do the extra stuff to kind of prove it every single day. And he has that little bit of, I don't want to call it anxiety or whatever, but like there's a tick to him that, he wants to be as good as he can be every single day. And then bringing Freddie in and giving him the same deal and seeing the same thing out of him. I mean, it just sets a tone in the clubhouse that this is what we're going to do. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much money you're making. It doesn't matter, what your situation is. Like, you're going to show up to work every single day. You're going to show up to play and you're going to show up to win. And it's funny. we were just in Arizona and I was hanging out with my good friend Ike Davis, and we were talking about Ike CC, and we were talking about the Jeter documentary, and just that was probably the one thing that I took away the most from that was his dedication to winning, and winning was all that mattered, and it didn't matter who you were in the clubhouse or where you were. Like, if you look at him, his first year up there when he wasn't even on the playoff roster, and he's the first guy on top step of the dugout, high-fiving guys and like engaging it. And I'm just like, man, and that's kind of the feel that, we have this year with the Dodgers is it doesn't matter who you are. All that matters is winning, show up every day to play, be ready to play in whatever role you're asked to play it in. And that's it. And, we've done a pretty good job of it. There hasn't been a whole lot of distractions. Guys are going about it in the right way, and it's been fun to be a part of.
Man, that's amazing. Ike Davis, man, I miss Ike. But Ruocco said, continuously, like, how do you, like, for you, separate year to year? I mean, after, so many years and, regular seasons and different things. And, it's hard to, get through the summer after, being a vet. And, winning the division so many years after year, what keeps you going and keeps the drive burning for you?
Yeah, it's trying to find a way to not get bored with it, right? And not get bored with success. And, that's a conversation that we've already had this year with, we clinched the division pretty early, but not getting bored with the success and continuing to show up every day and work. But I think I find the motivation in one, yes, we've won a lot of division titles and we've been to the playoffs a lot, but we've only won one World Series. And the one World Series that we won was in 2020. And we've gotten a lot of, backlash from that, right? Like, oh, does it count? Does it not count? Is it a real season? Whatever. So my motivation is like, I want to do this thing in a full season and prove to everyone that, I can be a World Series champion in a 162 game season as well as in a shortened season. And I think there's a lot of guys in our clubhouse that kind of have that same mentality and that same feeling. And there's a lot of guys in the clubhouse that have come over from other teams that have a championship under their belt that, they're just that feeling, that parade, the celebration, the camaraderie with that group of guys that you get, there's just, you want to do it again. You want to experience it again. You want to have another shot at, doing some things a little bit different in your celebrations. So whatever the motivation is, for guys, I think there's a ton of it in our clubhouse to want to get this thing done again.
Yeah. You guys didn't get the parade the last time, right?
Nothing. So,
yeah.
There's a lot of, I think every team shows up wanting to win a championship, right? And that's the plan every year at the beginning of spring training. And, some guys want to do it because they've never done it and they want to check that box before, their career's over. And I think there's all kinds of different external motivators for everyone. And, for me personally, it's just wanting to do it right and wanting to be able to not have anyone make some dumbass remark about, oh, that doesn't count.
You know what's interesting, Justin? Like you brought that up, and I'm glad you did because it gives us the opportunity to talk about it a little bit. When we were going through those playoffs, there was no part of me that thought like, oh, this isn't going to feel legit. And I think that part of the reason I felt that was like the teams we would have picked in an 162 game season were still there at the end, right? Like the Rays were a team that a lot of people would have picked. The Dodgers certainly would have been the favorites to come out of the National League, right? You guys probably would have been the Family Feud answer favorite for who was going to win it all, So, and you had this string of success. So I never felt that way. And I just want to say sorry that people say mean things because I don't think they should, man.
Yeah. And I mean, what's happened is basically, it has put us in a position to kind of defend it a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things that happened in 2020 that made it more challenging than probably regular postseason, right? Like a neutral playoff site for one, which we had the best record. So we probably had the biggest advantage in being in Texas the whole time. But that was because we had the best record in that 60 game sprint. And then you go into the playoffs. It's the first year of expanded playoffs. You have to play, that wild card round. And we had the Brewers at our place. There was through the division series and championship series and World Series. There's no off days in between. So you're playing, 5 straight days, 7 straight days against the Braves. So it really tested the depth of your roster, right? Because you're not having those off days and just getting to roll through it with 3 starting pitchers. So there was a lot of things that I think went into it. And on top of that, all the protocols.
I was about to say, and COVID and everything, everything he was going through.
Yeah. So everyone's routine changed. Everyone's daily stuff had to change because we were limited on time. We were limited on things that we can do because of COVID. So, and the last thing I'll say about it is, it was definitely different for every single team, and every single team had the same opportunity. So it's easy for everyone from other fan bases to be like, oh yeah, well that didn't count. But if their team would have won the World Series, they would be probably in the same position I'm in defending that to everyone else. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Justin, when you look at your postseason numbers, I mean, they're really, really strong. And you've had a lot of huge moments, including, the NLCS MVP you did win, but just overall, right? You got a OPS well over 800. You have 13 postseason home runs, 42 postseason RBIs. What is tougher about a playoff at bat than a regular season at bat?
I think just the playoffs in general, everything carries a bigger weight. Every play, is so much more significant to a game in the playoffs because, the one little mistake, one error, one time you don't move a runner and then you lose by a run, like the weight of a loss is so much more significant in the playoffs than it is in the regular season. Right. So I think what happens to guys is that, importance or that moment where it's a big moment, things get sped up on you.
Mm-hmm.
and guys have a hard time, slowing things down. And, you see it all the time. Guys will step out of the box or guys will step off the mound and they'll take a deep breath and everyone's like, oh yeah, like this is superstition or whatever. But the truth is in those moments, our hearts are pounding. And sometimes they're pounding so hard, you think that, on TV, you can see our uniforms, bouncing out of our chests. And the one tool to kind of combat that is to make sure you take your deep breaths and you control your breathing. Because when you're breathing, you slow your heart rate down. When you slow your heart rate down, then you're able to be the best, version of yourself, whether you're on the mound or in the batter's box or on defense. And you control your eyes, you control your brain, you control your decisions that way. So I think the biggest thing for me is being able to slow things down in the postseason, being able to step back out of those moments and, control my breathing, control my heart rate. And that it's kind of the, what's the Kevin Costner movie where he's the pitcher for
control the mechanism, or what is it? Clear the mechanism. Yeah.
Clear the mechanism, right? For love of the game. So
love it for the love of the game.
It's kind of like that. I mean, obviously that's a movie and it's probably a little exaggerated. Like everyone doesn't like blur out and you can still like that's kind of it, right? Like you have to be able to step back and control yourself in those situations to give yourself the best chance. Otherwise, things just go so fast, and before you know it, you're walking up to the box and walking back to the dugout, and the AB is over. So I don't know, CC, you probably have gone through a lot of this too, and you pitched probably way more big games than I've played in big games. So
no, we're about the same, but you said it. You said it right. I mean, it's the same like the movie. Like you can still hear all the noise and stuff, but you just so focused and locked in that it's just, for me, it was just always just me and the catcher and me going through my own thoughts. I think for me, like in those big moments, being able to slow my heart rate down, control my breathing, allowed me to think through everything and not let stuff speed up on me. You know what I'm saying? Where I can like actually think through this fastball in I'm about to throw, or maybe not, like, you know what I'm saying? Or allow me to control the negative shit that I'm thinking too, because it's going to pop in. So you have to, allow yourself to control all that stuff. And the only way you can do that is by slowing your heart rate down.
100%. Everyone thinks I'm crazy when I talk about that too. They're like, man, what is it in the postseason? I'm like, dude, you got to breathe. Like,
yeah.
Like we all breathe. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, not like that.
And you got to be able to slow it down. Like the person who I played with that helped me the most was Kevin Millwood. Watching him be able to slow a game down, like got runners on base, and the shit would just come to a halt, and he would control the pace of the game. And that's how you have to pitch in the postseason. That's how I had to pitch in the postseason, and just try to control the crowd. Walker Buehler was on here earlier last year, and he talked about that. Like, sometimes, you may want to walk a guy and to just not get the crowd into it, giving up a big hit, a double, or, a hard line drive would get the crowd into it, where a walk still got people in their seat. So it's about just trying to control your environment as much as you can in the postseason.
Absolutely.
It's funny you're talking about breathing like this, Justin, because probably the best book I've read over the last 2 or 3 years, maybe even longer than that, is this book called Breath by James Nestor. Highly recommended. But it's all about the tangible ways in which breathing affects us, specifically nasal breathing. But it's interesting because the way you just talked about that, I feel like probably wouldn't be talked about, years ago, right? And I'm wondering, like, where did you get that from? Like, who taught you the importance of breathing in those moments and the actual tangibility of what happens when you slow your heart rate down?
Yeah, so I think I got pretty lucky. I went to Cal State Fullerton for 4 years, and they had a professor there by the name of Dr. Ken Revisa, who is one of the best sports psychologists in the world, really. He's worked with Olympic athletes and Major League Baseball teams. He was one of Joe Madden's right-hand man. He worked with the Angels when he was there. He worked with the Cubs when he was there. He worked with the Rays down in Tampa, and he was actually a professor at Fullerton. And so I took a few of his classes, and he worked pretty closely with the baseball team. And that was, one of his biggest components to everything was you got to breathe, control your breathing, doing breathing exercises. And that kind of always stuck with me. I mean, there's a lot of things that he taught me that have stuck with me, but that was probably one of the most important ones and one of the most valuable ones, especially when, you get in these big moments and the game starts speeding up. That's how you slow it down.
Man, if any kids out there, especially high school kids listening to this, the earlier you can get with a mental conditioning coach, the better off you are. And just have it be a part of your routine. And just make that as much work as you do in the weight room, you need to work on your mind and getting yourself to be able to control yourself in those big moments. But the earlier you can figure out, somebody that can help you in those big moments, the better off you're going to be in your career. And the more you'll not believe in it, just the more you'll trust it. You know what I'm saying? The older you get, somebody tries to tell you some of this shit, you may not trust it.
And I think that's the biggest separation between, the minor leagues and AAA and major leaguers, and then major leaguers and, some of these Hall of Famers is their ability to control their environment, right? Like, you see it all the time. Like there's so many guys in AAA or in the minor leagues that are great players, but then they come up and they struggle in the major leagues. And it's like, what's the biggest difference? And I think for me, it's the mental part of it. Like physically, they're just as talented, if not more talented than everyone, but being able to, control the game mentally and understand what you're doing and understand what you're trying to get out of it, understanding that failure is a big part of this game and you're going to fail and you can't beat yourself up, because if you don't even believe in yourself, like, then you have no chance, especially as a hitter getting in the box, right? You're going to fail 7 out of 10 times anyway if you're a Hall of Famer. But if you don't even think you're good enough, then you have no chance when you step in the box. So that the mental side of things and getting on your own side and controlling the environment, I think, is the biggest separator between minor league players and major league players. And CC, you nailed it. I mean, the earlier you can get with guys and talk to them and get some tools in controlling your breathing and the other one that we did all the time was I'm losing the word for it, but like trying to envision your ABs against the next day. So when we were at Fullerton, we played the University of Texas in the College World Series for the championship, and we would literally meet the night before, and we had one of our pitchers, he stole some Texas gear, and he was standing in a big conference room in all Texas gear, left-handed pitcher, and he was pretending to be JP Howell because we were facing JP the next day. And we had guys going through and doing like visualization, like taking at bats off JP Howell. And I get it, that's extreme. You're probably not going to be doing that in high school, but stuff like that, I think, just kind of helps you push you over the edge and gives you a little bit of an advantage that you can't get, physically on a playing field.
Love it.
That is an amazing story. So what'd you guys do against JP then in the championship game?
Yeah, so we actually played Texas earlier in the year and they kicked our ass. I mean, like, beat the crap out of us in Austin. And we went in the College World Series. They hadn't lost a game, and we beat them twice and won the World Series. So beat JP Howell and Sam LaCure, I ended up playing with both of those guys.
How about that, man? That is amazing, though. Well, the visualization, it worked then, clearly.
Yeah, it definitely helped.
How about, Justin? I mean, your career, obviously now you've had a really steady, successful decade with the Dodgers, but it did not start that way for you, right? I mean, you were waived at least once early in your career, right? And then you get a couple years with the Mets before you end up with the Dodgers, how, as you're starting your big league journey, yeah, it's one thing what you're talking about to say, like, you got to be able to deal with failure just within the course of a season, right, with your at-bats. But it's a whole other thing when you're actually losing job or not, getting a job or stuck in the minors, or there's so many different permutations with being a big leaguer. How present were these tools for you then to help you navigate that period in your career?
Yeah, I think it was huge. And I think it goes back to the mentality of, showing up and trying to help your team win every day. And when I came up, with the Orioles and was with the Mets for, 3.5 years, like never in my mind did I imagine I was going to be, or I had in me, the player that I am right now. But I was completely bought into the role that I'm a utility infielder. I'm going to be pinch hitting late in games, trying to take good at bats. I'm going to be giving guys off days when they needed it. David Wright, Ike Davis, guys like that, Daniel Murphy. And so I bought into those roles and, wanted to be the best I could be at that role. And I think a lot of times, and rightfully so, like guys get up and they're in a role that they don't want to be in. So they don't fully buy into that role. And I mean, I'm not saying in the back of my mind, I didn't want to be an everyday player. I didn't want to be an all-star. I didn't want that. So of course I wanted that stuff, but I also had a realization of who I was on this roster, with the Mets. When I came over there, it was, David Wright, Jose Reyes, Daniel Murphy, Ike Davis. Like, okay, yeah, obviously I want to play every day, but where am I going to play every day? You know what I mean? So I kind of embraced my role and accepted it and wanted to be as good as I could at that role every single day, because my thought was, well, it's better to be in this role in the major leagues than be an everyday player in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
And I would take that every day of the week. And I'm not sure that other guys feel that way sometimes. I think guys just, want to play every day and they think that they should be playing over guys. And again, that's fair. That's a fair thought. But at the end of the day, if you want to be a winning player or a winning teammate or in a winning organization, you gotta be able to, put that stuff to the side and show up every day and figure out how to help your team win. And that's kind of the mindset I took. And fortunately, in 2015 with the Dodgers, not fortunate for Juan, and I never root for anyone to get hurt, but he pulled his hamstring a couple times that season and gave me a few stretches to where I got to play third base every day. And did a pretty good job. And it got to the point where they trusted me to kind of take over. So I think it was just a byproduct of accepting, who I was and where I was. And then an opportunity opened up for me and I was ready for it.
That's just being a great self-evaluator. And like you said, knowing what you are and who you are on the roster. We talked to Doc, like Ryan said, earlier in the week, on the podcast, and he's just talking about finding those type of players, those type of winning players to put in the organization to help, show up every day just to win a ball game. And like, do you think that's a huge part of the Dodgers' success and why you guys have been able to sustain it for so long, is just finding those type of selfless players that want to go out and just help the organization or the team win every night?
100%. And I think Andrew and our front office does a great job at that. Obviously there's a ton of, talent and good players out there every offseason that they can bring in as free agents. But, one of their biggest concerns and one of their biggest questions is how would they fit in our clubhouse? How are they going to, take to, wanting to show up, wanting to win every day, possibly being comfortable, being uncomfortable, I guess is the right way to say it, because, we do have a lot of good players in our clubhouse. And there are times when, some good players aren't getting an opportunity to play every day that they probably would on 29 other teams. And having that mentality and that mindset that, it's still for the best for me and for the team to show up no matter what, and, accept whatever is going to happen. And knowing that, even if I'm not starting that night, I might be pinch hitting in the 7th or 8th inning with, guys in scoring position, and I still have a chance to impact the game, and buying into that and believing it, I think is important. And that's something that they definitely value.
What about, Justin, the organization as a whole? Like, this is, one of the iconic organizations in baseball and in sports. When you talk about the Dodgers, CC always talks about kind of the Yankees experience and the aspects of it that just make it feel like the big leagues. what are the things, because I'm just imagining that the Dodgers experience is very similar based on the way we see them invest in the roster every year, right? Whether it's the things you guys do at the minor league level, the scouting level, or the checks you guys write to the biggest free agents. You kind of check all those boxes. What are the things about the Dodgers experience that make it feel like the big leagues, if my premise is correct, that they do take care of you guys well?
Yeah, it's been great, and it's evolved over the years. I think allowing the players to kind of have more involvement in some of the decisions and some of the things that go on off the field has really loosened up. I think the game has changed. I think if you just look at how teams travel now, when I came into the league, you were in suits and ties.
Oof.
And everyone they looked professional. And there was even, some teams on the road to the ballpark. I know the Braves for the longest time were, you had to wear slacks and a dress shirt on the road. You had to wear slacks and a dress shirt in spring training to the field, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that has laxed. And I think it's across baseball. It's not just us, but, we travel in sweatsuits now. The whole team's in Nike sweatsuits that they provide for us. We have 3 different sweatsuits. We have a gray one, we have a black one, we have a blue one. So that part of it has kind of changed. Our players, CC, I don't know if you're going to believe this, but our players, we have like 8 to 10 players sitting in first class on our flight. We don't have the big league plane like a lot of teams have with all captain seats. We fly on a United.
Wait, so where the coaches sit?
So we have a couple coaches that are obviously Dave and our bench coach are up in first class, but there's 6 to 10 players on every flight up in first class, and the rest of the staff is back in the normal seats. Crazy, right? Like
that is crazy.
Think about that. It just doesn't happen. So it's there's a lot of things that have kind of changed over the years that wasn't always this way. One of the coolest things for me is when guys come over and we land in LAX, right? And no one wants to take the bus back to the stadium and then the stadium back to their place when we're landing at 1 or 2 in the morning. But when we land at LAX and you look out the window and there's about 20 black cars just parked outside the plane, and then you get off and you just walk in your car service, get in, and you go straight home. I think that's one thing that guys are like, holy shit, like we've never seen this before. So that's kind of something probably not a lot of people know about that.
That's awesome, man.
The way you guys travel, or the way we travel now, is awesome. Like I always hated the traveling in suits, especially for Yankees, Dodgers. Like we're always getting in at 2, 3 in the morning. Nobody's seeing us anyway. So as soon as Derek retired, I was like, fuck that. We ain't wearing no more suits on the plane. I couldn't wait till he retired so we could change the dress code.
I don't know how it was for you, but we would get on the plane, and as soon as we're on the plane, every guy's in the aisle taking off all their stuff.
You take all that shit off anyway. That's like,
and then you land and you got to put everything back on. You're trying to put your tie back. It's like, dude, this is crazy.
Well, especially so you guys would do that even if you were taking the equivalent of a red eye. Like you're flying back like through the night and you'd have to still wear a suit on the plane.
Absolutely.
Jeez, man. Just not what you want. I am glad that you guys are involved. Also, I haven't seen the Dodgers sweatsuits that you guys wear on the plane, Justin, but the ones that and the Yankees cooked up with, I'm guessing it was Robbie Kakuza as well. See, I'm not sure who was designing.
Yes, it was Robbie.
But they are amazing. When you guys broke those out for London,
London
was the first time.
London was the first one,
First time. And there's also something too, like you're walking through Heathrow with the New York Yankees all in these like, team issued sweatsuits, and it just like just felt like you felt like the Beatles, it just felt it felt huge. And it looked comfortable. I obviously didn't have one, but they looked very nice.
Yeah, I remember like 4 or 5 years ago, we were in Chicago and we go to a dinner. There was a couple of us at RPM Steak, right? And we're sitting there. And I don't remember what team it was. An NBA team was in town, and they were eating in the back room, and they finished eating and they all walked out. I mean, it was the whole team. God, I can't remember for the life of me who it was in town, but they were all in their team issued sweatsuits at RPM Steak. And I'm like, damn, that is sick. Like, I would love to be able to do that, right? And then here we are now. We're kind of in that space now. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty nice, man. So, Justin, when you look at the National League right now, I mean, obviously, you guys have had by far and away the best record in baseball for a while now, right? There was a period of time where the Yankees and the Astros were there, but you guys broke free and just have, I mean, your record this season is just silly how excellent it is. But we also know, like, Mets, Cardinals, Braves. I mean, there's really good teams in the National League. How do you just kind of look at what the gauntlet of the National League postseason is going to be like to get through?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of good teams, and there's a lot of good players on other teams. And, right now, I honestly, I don't think we're that focused on that stuff. We're trying to get healthy. We have, we've had a great year, but you look at what's happened. We've lost Walker Buehler. We just got Dustin May back. Kirsch was down for a little bit. You go in our bullpen with Tommy Kahnle, Blake Trinan, all these guys who, Yency Almonte, all these guys who have been out for a long time, and having other young guys come up and step up and kind of perform the way they have is tough. We have Gavin Lux, who's been down for almost a month now. So we're trying to get healthy and carry momentum to be playing good baseball into October, right? I think if you look back to our team in 2017, we won 104 games that year, but in September we went through a run where we lost like 16 to 17, and we were feeling pretty shitty going into those playoffs. And we've had some conversations like, hey, let's not let our foot off the gas pedal here. Let's not take a breath. Let's just keep going and keep rolling and keep playing good baseball. And if we do that, no disrespect to anyone else, but we believe that if we play our brand of baseball, it doesn't matter who's on the other side.
And when the season's flowing like that, it's really like it's really easy to not take your foot off the gas. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're having fun and you like showing up to the ballpark and the group is good, like you just want to go out and kick somebody's ass every day. So that's a good way to be, going into heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's the mentality you need in the playoffs, right? It doesn't matter who's out there. It doesn't matter who you're facing. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You just show up to the park knowing and feeling good about, what we have on our side and the way we go about our game. And when you do that, I think that's a pretty good recipe to have success in the postseason.
Man, he said a name though that when talking about the bullpen, Tommy Kahnle.
I was thinking the same thing.
How's Tommy's crazy ass been around in that clubhouse, man? I love that. Dude. I miss him so much.
Tommy is on a whole nother level, man. Whole nother level. Like I've never played with anyone like Tommy Kahnle. So it is. Don't plan on sleeping on the plane, right?
Oh, hell no.
You're not sleeping. He's screaming, he's yelling, he's going up and down the aisles. I'm kidding every time. But he's been a little quieter these last 2 weeks. His Notre Dame Fighting Irish are 0-2. So
yeah, he's gonna be quiet. As soon as the season starts, like as soon as the actual football season starts, he has to shut up because the Fighting Irish actually has to play football games. But like
his Eagles look good though.
His Eagles look really good. So you're gonna hear a lot of that shit all fall.
So funny quick story about Tommy. He got activated when we were just in Arizona, and I was in the lobby waiting. My wife was actually driving in from LA, and this monsoon hit Arizona like I have never seen. Like it is the hardest rain, sideways rain, just the whole area was flooded in front of the check-in desk, and it was crazy. Like someone called the front desk and was like, hey, my roof is collapsing. Like that's how in the hotel.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm sitting in there and I'm waiting for my wife to get there. And I'm like, shit, man, this is gonna suck. Like getting her out and getting her stuff out of the car. And the doors open up and it's Tommy walking in. He's in like shorts and an Eagles shirt and drenched head to toe. And he's got his Dodgers bag, his suitcase, and his PlayStation little suitcase. And he walked in and he looked like the saddest, most miserable person. And I wish I had like a video. I wish I could have filmed it because it was hysterical. And then he had to walk back out and go to his room, and it was
my gosh.
This version of Tommy, you would have loved it.
Oh, that's great. You know, what's funny is like you talk about the plane, and C knows where I'm going to go with this. But first, what I'm going to say is the first time we ever had Tommy on the podcast, we did a Game of Thrones roundtable, and it was before the final 2 episodes, and we had on. It was great. It's one of our favorite podcasts of all time. But we had on like 6 of CeCe's teammates and all these guys who were so into Game of Thrones. And
he fucking froze up.
He didn't talk at all. And
he got nervous, bro.
Yes. And at that time, yes.
He did.
Ask him about it. Ask him about
he did. He fucking froze, bro.
And it's so funny because I didn't know Tommy well at that time. And C and some of the other guys who I know were on are like, oh my gosh, like that was crazy. Like the way Tommy was. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, they're like, this is the loudest dude on the team. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, what? Like, yes, he has the most crazy, effervescent personality. He's a nut job. And I was like, really? He just kind of sat in the corner shy the whole time.
He didn't say a word on the pod.
Well, you know, he obviously, I got plenty of experiences after that showed me the real Tommy, including when we flew to London on the red eye. And he was just like stalking up and down the aisles of the plane, screaming.
We got in trouble that night, bro. Remember that? We ended up getting yelled at.
Yes. Yes. He was going, he's Shuck for Mike Shuck, head athletic trainer now. Like, Shuck. Like, everybody's trying to sleep. I'll never forget how just delighted Susan Waldman was with Tommy yelling as she's walking up and down the plane. Oh, he's a character, man.
My favorite thing he does is he sets up his PlayStation in his locker and he plays MLB The Show before every game. Mm-hmm. And he plays with like our team. And so he's in there and like whatever, if like he hits a homer with Muncy, he like gets all fired up and runs down to Muncy's locker like, Muncy, yeah, baby. Like going nuts. And Muncy's like, what? Like in the video game, it's crazy. Like if he had a bottle of champagne, he would dump it on his head.
Like, you know what's great about it? It's so authentic that like you can't get mad at him. You know what I'm saying? No. Like if you get mad at him, you get that version of him in the ring, and you don't want that version of him. You know what I'm saying? Like you want him excited. You want the little kid Tommy, and I just love him, man. I miss him, man. Tell him I said what's up, please.
I definitely will. He actually just pitched yesterday, first inning back. He missed like 3 months. So wow. It was good to have him back.
It'd be big to have him back. He's nasty.
He is so nasty.
Filthy. That changeup is disgusting. Mm-hmm. And he was great in October for you guys, see. Like,
yes. He would just wear down, you know, because we would have to use him too much.
Yep, exactly. And he was throwing a lot of 2-inning appearances then, too, for you guys. But Justin, we so appreciate the time. The one thing I did want to mention before we go, you and your wife, I mean, obviously there are a lot of people who do a lot of wonderful things throughout the game, and we do like to highlight that. You and your wife, I feel like, take it to a whole other level with what you guys do. Very much the way C and Amber are with the Pitch In Foundation, with what you guys have done with the Turner Trot 5K, and like I know it's a rarity to have a part of Sunset shut down. That doesn't happen often. So I'd love to just ask you about what you guys do with the Turner Trot and why it's so important to you guys.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of people in this game that go above and beyond and step up for communities and for people who are underserved and people who are in need and just need a little bit of help to help get them back on their feet. And I look up to people like CeCe, and I've had Kershaw and Adrian Gonzalez and David Wright, who I've shared locker rooms with, who took a lot of pride in this stuff and set the bar really high. So it's our kind of goal, not only to help as many people as we can, but also, keep pushing that bar for guys who are coming behind us and the younger guys in our clubhouse to see and realize the platform that they have and realize what they can do to impact people's lives. That's kind of the secondhand effect of, what we do. But this year we did our first 5K in person. We did one last year. It was virtual. This year we had 1,200 runners show up, start at Dodger Stadium, go out down Sunset, and then end at the Dream Center, which is pretty significant for us because they're one of our biggest beneficiaries. That's where we have our homeless veterans program, both men and women. There's 25 beds in the men's floor, and the women have their own house, and it's an 18-bed program. We have a food bank there. We have, during the pandemic, we did a food line where families who were missing out on the LA Unified School District hot meal program. A lot of families depended heavily on that. And now schools shut down because of the pandemic, and they didn't know how they were going to feed their kids this lunch, right, every day. So buying a bunch of meals from local restaurants, local mom and pop restaurants to try to help keep them open, as well as sending the food to this food line to feed the families. So the people at the Dream Center are unbelievable. They were out on this line 12 hours a day, standing out there, passing out hot meals, and cars are just coming through. I think they passed out over 1 million meals to Angelinos. So that was pretty special. And then the other thing we do a lot with our foundation is spend time in hospitals, spend time at Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, UCLA, Mattel, Cedars-Sinai, and just trying to create memories, create moments for kids who are battling the unthinkable. And, you go in there and see, you spend a little bit of time with these kids and these families, and the strength and resilience and positivity that they have when they're dealing with this stuff. And I strain a hamstring and I think the world's going to end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it really puts things in perspective, and it really kind of changes the way like you see things in the world. And it's so admirable. And I have so much respect for all these kids and these families who are spending all their time, in the hospital, trying to find cures, going through chemo, doing these trial drugs to try to, just extend, going through blood transfusions and trying to find donors. Like all the stuff they go through is just, it's just heartbreaking. And to be able to designate time and go in and create these memories and these bright spots and take their mind off of, the machines they're hooked up to for a little bit, I think is so important. And we love getting in there and doing that stuff. So that's what the foundation's all about. We've been going since 2016. It's my wife and I. She basically runs everything. She designs the website. She runs the social media. She answers a lot of the emails and administration stuff. So she's an absolute superstar when it comes to the foundation. And we just try to touch as many people as we can, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So it's nonstop.
That's incredible.
That's amazing. And Courtney is your wife's name, right?
Courtney, yeah.
Well, shout out to Courtney, because that's outstanding stuff. And Justin, if people want to learn more about the foundation, where do they turn to? Website? Just Google JT Foundation, or what do they?
JustinTurnerFoundation.com. It's everything we've been up to, everything we do every year. There's ways to donate and get involved. And I think, one of the best things we've learned about having a foundation is there's so many people in this world that want to help and want to contribute and want to make a difference, but they don't really have the vehicle to do that. And being a Dodger player and having a foundation provides a lot of people in LA this vehicle to make an impact, through a foundation. And we've made so many great relationships, and it's great seeing how many people just really care, but don't really know how to go about it. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's been pretty rewarding too, is being able to connect people that want to help to people that need help.
Well, Justin, congratulations on all the amazing work that you and Courtney do. It's just awesome hearing you put into perspective what that experience is like for you. God bless you, man. It's amazing stuff. And congrats on another outstanding season. Yep. Good luck heading into October. We will be watching And we really appreciate you hopping on R2C2, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. This was fun. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Appreciate you guys. Good luck.
See.